is a fine example of kris from the southern Sulawesi regions of Bugis, who are well-known seafarers and respected at sea by most other races. They had established themselves in other regions in southern Malay Peninsula as well as southern Sumatra and also the eastern Indonesian island of Sumbawa. Their preference for stronger materials use, both for the sheath and the blade, is mainly due to their rough seafaring lifestyle. The form and style of the hilt and sheath is also rather simple and is more practically inclined. The hilt is in a form called the kerdas, which refers to a fruit that has a similar bend profile, something like a pistol grip, whereby the back of the hilt rests nicely inside the palm. Usually made of very hard communing wood, this very rare example is made of thick gilded brass encasement over wood. Fine filigree works as well as low-grade diamonds or intans adorns the hilt at the correct places. The use of these low-grade diamonds or intans is more commonly seen in Banjarmasin, southern Kalimantan, where it is present naturally, but it is extremely rare to find in other regions, and when present it strongly suggests high status wear. Another strong attachment to high status is the sheath bottom stem. Made from about 16 karat gold alloy, it is very thick, and the fine repoussé motifs that has depth and shows the thickness of the gold that is needed for durability that the lifestyle faces. The top sheath, made from very hard communing wood, which is a preference for the Bugis due to its strength from slow growing nature. The squarish form of the top sheath is called tebeng in Malay, and although looking simple, one can focus on the top sheath alone and see that it clearly resembling a boat. Many other regions' top sheaths are also supposed to resemble a boat, and the Bugis tebeng form reflects the regional boat's styles. The name Sulawesi was formerly Silibis, taken from the Bugis Selat Besi, meaning land of metals. The region is known to be rich in minerals and metals, and also a high-grade nickel in a place called Lu. This nickel palm oil is highly sought after by other regions too, and was said to have been mined to exhaustion. But with recent modernization, it is still mined today, but sadly not to be made into krises. One needs to handle this blade to feel its weight and thickness, as well as the strength of metals used. The blade with 15 waves or loops has another suggestion of status wear, as the number of waves is usually between 3 to 13. The base features are also very well executed and complete with the double base, short fullers or sogokan. Palmor patterns are very contrasting due to the use of the palmor lu. Moving the kris at different angles, one can see the flashings of the palmor lines, which is characteristic of the palmor lu. It is to note that fusing stronger irons or steel with nickel is difficult, because the nickel is unable to take the higher temperatures of the other stronger metals. But the high-grade nickel of Lu has a high forging temperature, and thus it is able to fuse with other stronger iron or steel, like we see in this rare example. The kris is made for a high-status person with lavish fittings and strong blade to reflect his personality and lifestyle. From the region of Surakarta in central Java, where the evolution of the kris form and shape had been established widely during the 10th to 14th century Hindu Majapahit Empire. Known for their aristocratic and meticulous artistic culture, many cultural events with Hindu influences are still practiced till today. This kris reflects the characteristic of the Javanese culture, whereby artistry is stressed above function or durability. The typical Javanese kris hilt is made from hardwoods called tayuman, with 6 planar sides and a slightly bent top. Miniature carvings at the front are called patras, and a close look at the carvings from the side shows swirly motifs. But looking Looking at it from the front reveals a human face with piercing eyes and a protruding nose. The subject of the Chris handle alone is very interesting and in-depth, and upon understanding it, one can see the meticulous nature of the Javanese. The top sheath, in a boat-like form, is called the ladranga, made of contrasting grain woods called pellet. It is highly sought after by the Javanese more for its mystical properties rather than practical use. The contrasting grains occurs due to fungal attack and hence making the tree weak. But the Javanese see this as a more artistic or mystical way, as some naturally occurring patterns are said to be able to influence the owner's personality. The sheath wooden stem is encased with a finely repoussed 22-karat gold stem cover. The fine meticulous details of the floral and bird motifs reflecting the Javanese close attachment with nature truly needs added mentioning. Very strong blade with 13 meandering waves or loops is quite exceptional for a Javanese blade. The form and shape of the blade having very artistic execution of the base features, and also present are gold inlaying works with a high degree of refinement, reflects the Javanese stress on artistry. But the feel of the blade and strong metals is deceiving the eye. The blade has a strong spine, but is less obvious seeing it from the front. And from the side, one can see the sublimely swollen spine that is present till the tip, making this blade very sturdy all the way till the tip. Pamau patterns are very condensed, and this suggests the high number of layers done during forging. Forged in the melumah technique called was utah or scattered rice, where the patterns appear in an unplanned contouring nature. Some unplanned patterns called pamortiban are considered very good by Javanese, who view an absorption of natural elements is apparently high. Fine example of a Javanese crate with high artistry that reflects the region's culture. From an isolated and rather ignored region in southern Thailand, the Pattani province has its early roots in the Langkasuka kingdom, which had a Hindu-Buddhist faith, founded in the region as early as the 2nd century. With stronger Bugis roots, as opposed to other regions, this extremely rare example has the hilt encased with silver and in the form called the choteng. Rarer than the tajong or kingfisher, which is a similar regional example, but sharing similarities and form, showing not a bird, but a squatting figurine with nasal horn, teeth, and fangs. The top sheath is made from well-selected wood called petai, with the bottom stem having a split, which is unusual in other regions but commonly seen in Pattani. The hip is also slightly larger than usual and has the typical makara motifs at the side and also curly hairs at the back. The blade's condition may be a little worn at the edges, but it is still very sturdy due to the presence of the spine. At the base, there is an interestingly old restoration of a metal encasement of the elephant trunk or kembang kacang. Pamau patterns are condensed and are arranged in the melumah technique called the kulit semangka or melon skin. The contouring patterns are all unplanned, and at the base, an interesting peak-like formation is seen and is called nunggak semi, meaning riding hunchback. It is said to be able to enhance the owner's stature. A truly rare example with not enough references and physical example in good condition for guidance. The need for more research into the region as a whole. A fine and rare example of a long executioner's kris widely used in the Malaysian Peninsular regions. It is thought incorrectly to have evolved only after the coming of Western colonizers to counter their longer weapons. The form of the blade, being long and slim, is not at all practical as a slashing, nor even allowing it for a swift stabbing weapon. There are also many accounts of it being used in execution way before the coming of colonization. The handle of this type of kris is commonly seen with a form representing a horse hoof. It is also generally referred to locally as tapak kuda, meaning horse hoof. Closer look at the finer motifs and other similar examples of the handle form reveals them as a stylized, hidden human figurine with a flaring top resembling a tiara or crown or headdress. It is fully encased with thick and well-reposed silver and show as the top sheath. The top sheath is in the sabit bulan or crescent moon and encased with finely repulsed silver, combining floral and geometrical motifs at the front and back. The long and slim blade is very sturdy with well-executed base features or perabots, having a deep notch at the base, and this is called the tikil alis, and also it has a very prominent granang or fretworks. The use of the blade for execution is by thrusting the blade into the left shoulder downwards towards the heart. This method is said to be bloodless. As opposed to beheading, this may be less shocking for public executions. One has to also stress the role of this kris as a symbol of authority and appropriate only for a person who has the authority to pronounce sentencing for any wrongdoings. A judge is one example, and a minor village head can also have one. Almost all the states in Peninsular Malaysia has a kris of this form as part of the palace regalia, and it is an important role in coronation ceremonies. Coming from the island of Kalimantan or Borneo, this very rare kris from the southern region of Banjarmasin is the very few inhabitants of the huge island that practices kris culture. Known to be the only place in Southeast Asia to have low-grade diamonds or intans, their kris hilt are usually lavishly decorated with them. This example is one that is made from wood and encased with thick gilded brass and has the form of the Jawa Demam or Sikh Javanese. This is a very interesting handle form, and although it is called Jawa Demam, it is not present in Java, but more in other regions like the Banjarmasin here, Palembang, southern Sumatra, as well as the Malay Peninsula region. Like most other kris hilt, the Jawa Demam form sublimely hides a stylized figurine in a squatting posture. The top sheath is also very unique to the region and has its similarities with the more common Gayaman form of Central Java. And this is also referred to as Gayaman, but with the Banjarmasin form. Not many references are available from the region, and from the shape of the top sheath, one can maybe suggest it must have a natural element form that the name associates itself with and needs further researching. The bottom stem or gandar is made of wood and is fully encased with a plain silver alloy stem cover or pendo. Very interesting blade. It is straight or lurus but has a very prominent angle to it. This angle blade is called sepukau in Malay, and it is widely used in the Bugis-influenced regions of Sulawesi, South Sumatra, as well as southern Malaysian peninsula regions. The blade also has a cross-section piece or base cross-section made one with the blade. This is a rarity, and it is done in preference to the smith's overall style and is called ganjar seiras. Palmo patterns are arranged in the merumah technique, showing contouring patterns and a rather smooth surface. This formation of patterns with a smooth surface finish is appropriately called kulit semangka or melon skin. An exceptionally rare example of a kris with lavish fittings and a remote region. Here are three examples of swords or pedang, as they are commonly called here. All of them are lavishly encased with finely repulsed silver over wood. The focus are on their handles. The first one is an example from Central Java, the second from Sumbawa Island in the eastern part of Indonesia, and the last one is an example from Toraja, Central Sulawesi. From observing and comparing the handles, we can see how the different regions evolve, morphing together deity representation with floral or geometric motifs which the Islamic ways allow. The first example from Central Java is very unique. The first example from Central Java is done with good depth, and one can clearly see the hidden standing figurine with his hands by the sides. Note also of the tiara or headdress that he is wearing. The second one, from Sumbawa Island, may first be looking like a bird to the untrained eye. But if one sees the circular swirl as the eye, then it can't be a bird as the eyes are too low. Closer look below the swirl, and one can adjust one view and see that the face is looking downwards, and the flaring top is his tiara or headgear. The last one is from Toraja, and it is the most interesting and challenging one. Not much reference is known about the form and style, as the region is rather remote. Like the other two, if one sees the top of the hilt as a headgear, maybe one can visualize the face and other facial features at the motifs at the bottom. This morphing of figurine is not just in swords, but handles of krises also. And only in Bali is an exception where they make their deities as direct representation because of their Hindu beliefs. The subject needs a lot more research, as every different regions evolve differently with its own unique way.